I've heard stories of distant lands, realms I long to reach. Your voice, it beckons me to go to worlds unexplored, to leave behind my home and wander. It beckons me to go to worlds unexplored, to leave behind my home and wander.
Welcome to LXC.
And the ranks rise up, League of Legends pride. Amateurs unite in LXC lights. Crusader League we fight, champions by our side. Emerald dreams ignite our night. LXC we play, Emerald all the way. Victory in sight, shining in the night.
I can look at
Jinx has no flash.
Yeah,
Jinx
yeah.
has no
Yeah,
flash.
Jinx no flash, Jinx no flash. Look at Jinx, look at Jinx, look at Jinx.
Jinx is
Yeah,
coming.
this is on me.
I'm killing the Jinx, I'm killing the Jinx. Okay, Jinx is dead. I'm looking at Rel. I can only kill Rel.
Aatrox CP behind. I'm walking, I'll be there in 10.
Pushing out Aatrox. Oh no, I couldn't push all your Aatrox. Okay, there you go. Hold on, I'm trying to kite kinda hard.
Hang on, back up for Kale. Kale's here.
Okay, okay.
Kill.
Just like Kale do it. Just like Kale do it.
Come here, come. Okay.
You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good.
You're good, you're good.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Wow, that
Okay,
ain't
okay.
good.
Aatrox.
Ooh. Ooh, nice slows. Nice. Though we don't want to give them feats this game with how ahead they are.
Okay, I'm fine.
You can go in, I'm here.
Yeah.
If you wait for me, I mean, I don't know if you kill with kill. Maybe you did. Okay, you did. Okay, then yeah. Don't worry about Jinx.
That's-
Like I can step him.
What the fuck?
Oh, what is that? I don't know.
Champions rise in the night. Power flows through neon light. Summoner's Rift, we take the dive. In the LXC we come alive. We strategize 5 on 5. Pushing lanes, we've got the drive. Nexus falls, it's all a race. In the LXC we find our place. Feel the beat of destiny. In the LXC we're wild and free. League of dreams, a legacy. We fight till dawn in harmony. Every match, a brand new quest. Skills and teamwork put to test.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Week 8 of LXC Season 2.
This is the last week of the regular season here in the Crusader division. For our last streamed best of 3 before the playoffs, we'll be enjoying New Origin Interbots versus Poison Panthers. Both teams are already locked in for the postseason, but there is still seeding to be determined. The Panthers are only 1 win behind heading into this week. Coming to you live tonight from the caster desk, my name is Crewman44. I'm joined by the lovely Mr. Launches to bring you all the action. Launches, how are you feeling? You ready to propel us into this match, Launches?
Oh, I cannot wait for this match here, cause see, I've cast for Interbots a couple times, right? Watching them go against Phoenix and everything like that, but have not cast Poison Panthers, and I think this fight's gonna be pretty good here. See, currently Interbots are ranked are ranked second to however you want to put it in Sector 1, which then puts them into the second round of the playoff bracket. However, if Poison Panthers does pull off a win here, they will go into a tiebreaker because they will both now be 5-3. And assuming that Clown Gaming unfortunately loses, that will then put 3 teams at 5-3, having a gauntlet round to see who will be second, third, and fourth seed and who will get that bye into the second stage of playoffs. Now, I think both teams here are pretty evenly matched. I think that this is going to be a pretty close fight. I could see it going 2-1 either way.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a pretty close matchup on paper. You know, the team's very close in the standings right now, obviously, as you were just highlighting for us. Quick aside, I am not able to see the chat for some reason. So when and if we do have a draft link, Mr. Producer, if you just go ahead and message that to us in the caster chat there, that would be fantastic. But yeah, I believe it is actually. I think it's the top 3. And sorry if I missed this when you were just explaining things, Launches. But I believe it's the top 3 seeds for each sector get seeded directly into the quarterfinals. Thank you so, and we are getting into this game 1 draft right now, so we'll be able to go ahead and take a look. We have the Interbots are going to be on the blue side for game number 1. The Panthers on the red. But yes, as long as you get into that top 3, I believe you are going to be able to avoid the play-in stage, and you're going to get seeded directly into those best of 5s. So
Yes,
that
currently
is definitely
Panthers
what
is the one ranked in fourth place, so they are having to. But if they
right.
get this win, they could propel themselves out of that and be able to skip that play-in stage here. But looking at these bans coming through, we do have that Udyr, Jinx, and Syndra ban here for Interbots. We're just saying we don't want to go against Syndra having that poke, Jinx being able to just get the great passive proc and everything like that can really scale late game. Of course, Udyr just being a tank. Of course, on the side of Poisonous Panthers, they do not want to see that Belveth, Karma, or Aphelios. So it's gonna be interesting. What do you think the Interbots will be picking first here?
Definitely it'll be interesting to see. You know, we've got a couple of AD carries removed so far, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see an AD carry lock in here. But oh, that is actually going to be the Rumble on the B1. You know,
Okay.
Rumble definitely a pretty high prio pick, but it does you kind of need to draft around the Rumble, right?
Mm-hmm. Really trying to go for those good equalizers right in those team fights, try to be able to pull everyone in. So we might even see Interbots kind of maybe go for that Rel, Leona, kind of that engage, right? Again, I think Rel might be a little better being able to bring everyone in to have that really good equalizer being put down by the Rumble here. I mean, Poisonous Panthers, I mean, we don't really see Sivir that much often in the meta, right? Usually we see more of that Ezreal, the Corki, I think in pro play, you're starting to see the Kaisa, the Misfortune also come out as well. But we don't see Sivir much, so I'm actually really interesting to see how this Sivir is going to go, and we might see Darius being picked up here for Poisonous Panthers going against Might of Noxus, right? So going to be interesting to see
True.
how that's going to go.
Yeah, of course. We also have to consider Darius Jungle is kind of the flavor of the month, or of this patch at least. A lot of people have been finding a lot of success with Darius in the jungle, particularly in solo queue. So we'll have to see. It's definitely a flex opportunity for the Panthers here. I agree that the Sivir is a little bit of a surprising pickup. You know, especially into a champion like Rumble. I feel like my mind immediately goes to those mobile AD carries like the Ezreal, for example, where
Mm-hmm.
you can shift out of those engages, get away from those equalizers. Sivir has the option of maybe outplaying with the spell shield, the movement speed from the ultimate, but it does, it's obviously a short range character. It does feel a bit risky into the Rumble specifically. But the Ezreal coming out here in response alongside the Victors, both of those carries are going to get picked up for the Interbots on the 2-3.
Yeah, with this, I'm going to expect a AD tank jungle, right? I don't think you really want that AP jungler right there when you have those two AP top and mid already picked. So we might see maybe more bruiser. So we might see that Wukong, that Jarvan come out, right? Something that can really facilitate those two there.
Mm.
But a
Oh, I
Braum,
would love a Jarvan.
I mean, a Braum pickup from Panthers is not the worst, right? Because Sivir is all about attack speed and stuff like that. So we'll be able to proc the passive pretty quickly. But I I understand the Braum, right? Having the knock up and the Victor and the Rumble, but I don't see that being as big of a pickup with the Sivir, right? I would have loved a Lulu coming in here or
Mm.
another Enchanter, right, for that Sivir, maybe that Milio as well, because I think that that will strengthen Sivir a little more. Because I don't think the safety of Braum is going to be as important in this game as something that can facilitate the Sivir a little more for that more damage, for the more ricochets and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely fair launches. The Braum is obviously an extremely defensive option for the Panthers. Picked relatively early on in the draft as well. Indicates to me at least that they're not really going to be playing for the 2v2 down there. They're really just wanting that Sivir to farm it out in the early game, scale up, and then possibly look to play for those team fights a little bit later on. And the Braum is going to at least be able to provide that reliable front line, that reliable peel for the Sivir to try to get her out of those potential engages that might be coming through from the Interbots. But taking a look at our second ban phase here, it looks like top lane is the focus launches. We got Ambessa and Mundo removed so far. I would actually really like a look at the Jarvan here from the Panthers. I feel like that would be so good alongside the Rumble and the Victor, right? You trap him in the Cataclysm, and then the
Hmm.
Equalizer and the Chaos Storm just getting layered on top there. I thought that was a really good pick that you mentioned just a while ago, but they're going to ban away the Zillion instead.
I mean, you really don't see Zillion as much. I think the problem with Zillion is that you're just gonna have way too much AP, right? You really are putting all your eggs into the basket of Ezreal because Braum builds magic resist, right? We don't know who the jungler is just yet on Panthers, right? It could be that Darius jungle or just putting Darius top lane and having a tank jungler, right? To really put more damage onto that Sivir. It also depends on what mid lane they pick here. Do they want to pick something maybe like the Silas, or they're going to pick more of a mage pick, right? Mel is up. I'm a very big advocate for Mel being pretty high prio, or should be pretty high prio. I know that Crusaders really don't like her as much, but I think that her E being able to have that route, a lot of poke as well, plus the execute on her ult. Not even talking about her W with her with the reflect, right? With that Ezreal ult is pretty good reflect as well. But it looks like they're just not going to be picking it here. They're just going to go with that Ari pick here. It's not bad,
Yeah,
right? Especially against a not very mobile Victor or Rumble, being able to hit those charms, get those Qs, get the ultimate procs as well. This is pretty strong here. So Ari's not the worst as long as they can hit the charms, though.
of course, of course. Yeah, for the Panthers, they are going to be holding that Darius flex all the way to the end of the draft, which is probably a good call. The Renata is going to come through for the Interbots, who definitely a pretty powerful support these days, but not something that you usually see paired alongside the Ezreal.
Yeah, I think that Renata's really kind of trying to counter Sivir, right? Because as soon as you do
Mm.
have the her ultimate kind of go through, hit Sivir, right? Having those ricochets onto her own teammates is going to do a lot of damage here. Now the thing is, it also is going to be kind of a game of chicken, right? How quickly is Sivir going to be using her spell shield? Is she going to have to spell shield something earlier before Renata ult comes through? But it looks like Pantheon's actually going to come through for Interbots. I really would have loved that
Wow.
Jarvan more, right? Having that knockup, having
I
the
would too.
hard CC and kind of focusing to allow that the Ezreal ult, the Rumble ult, the Victor ult, and stuff like that to come in. But it looks like they're just gonna go for that Jarvan, kind of go for the one pick. And I mean, it's pretty good ganking with that ultimate, right? As soon as you hit level 6 to run around. But the Ornn is actually gonna come through for Panthers as that
Dang.
final pick. So it does look like that is Darius jungle and Ornn top lane. So I mean, I'm not
Very
sure about these
interesting.
drafts here. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
No, I hear you, Launches. I think both teams have gone for some interesting gambits. The Pantheon, as you were just alluding to, definitely can work. It's another pick that's been kind of flavor of the month, has been relatively popular recently.
Mhm.
But it's means that the side of the Interbots are extremely light on frontline. I mean, they basically have none, right? A Pantheon is really he's fake frontline. He can buy a
Mhm.
couple of seconds with the Aegis Assault, with the E, the directional invulnerability there can buy you a second or two. But Pantheon is not a champion who can just stand in front of the carries and like tank those skill shots and eat that punishment for the team. He's just gonna die if he tries. So
Mhm.
um, I feel like for the Interbots, they're really going to have to come up with some creative angles in these team fights. Either that, or they're just going to have to blow out the Panthers during the laning phase. Those are kind of the two options for the Interbots. Whereas for the
Yeah.
other side, for the Panthers, it's like they've drafted more or less for team fight, but the Ari definitely does feel a little bit out of place as more of a pick champion, right? And the fact that the Sivir, the main carry of this composition, is so short range is somewhat concerning for me as well.
Mhm.
Feels like for the Panthers, it's really going to rely, their draft is going to rely quite heavily on this Darius jungle having a good game, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think that they're really lacking on damage on Panthers because they have the Brahmin Ornn. I guess you can say Ornn does damage, and like Ari will do good pick, but I mean you're really doing her for a charm, right? Her charm's gonna be the most important spell for that Ari. Then Darius, you gotta hope that Darius can get that Black Cleaver and stuff like that. I mean, you might not even need Black Cleaver, right? Because they're not the Interbots are gonna barely be getting any
True.
armor anyways, right? So, but having Sunder, having Trinity Force and stuff like that just to get more damage down. So I think that while Interbots just have a front line, I just feel like Panthers could lack a lot of damage where they don't have anyone that's really good at blowing up anyone. They have the Ari, and that's about all you have for blowing up. A Sivir is a lot of consistent damage, but it's really good against, like if you have a long fight and tank, be able to chip away at people. But and then you're just hoping that Darius can really get that flash and get that Q, and start consistently having the execute reset, right? His ult reset. I think that's what Panthers are really going for, hoping that they can get him low enough where Darius can just ult reset every single person to kind of clear out, get that ace, and be able to take base, take dragon, take baron, whatever's up at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that in mind, keeping in mind the fact that this Panthers draft is so reliant on the Darius, particularly how it's going to function in those fights, right? I think with that in mind, the Interbots choices make a little bit more sense, right? Where if you do just draft frontline into Darius, he really enjoys hitting that frontline, right? Because that's always a primo target for him to try to get that initial reset, like you were just talking about with the Noxian guillotine. So in that sense, the Interbots have some good tools to try to play around this Darius jungle. Furthermore, for the side of the Panthers, that really their engage is basically run at you. Sivir and Darius, they just run at you. They do
Hmm.
also have the Ornn, which could end up being really impactful, right? If he is able to find some good value with those called the Forge Gods, if he's able to use that effectively to start out the team fights. But I do feel like that the Interbots also have a good amount of peel, right? Especially with that Renata, but also with the Victor. You can play very safely, right? You put down the
Hmm.
gravity well, you poke people out with the lasers, and it seems like the Interbots. I was saying earlier that I feel like they kind of have to find some creative angles in the fights, but thinking about it again, I feel like they're just really going to want to, more than anything, play these fights out really slowly, right? They have a good
Hmm.
amount of range with the Ezreal and Victor. They're just going to want to land this poke on the Darius in particular before the fight even really breaks out.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that maybe Diana might have been a little better. Again, I would say that Mel would have been a great champion here, right? Being able to lock down the Victor, the Rumble, the Renata that are really immobile, get that really good E, come in, get the poke, and then have Darius or whoever else, Ornn, have Bounty Castle there. But I would have also said Diana would have been really good, right? Being able to jump in, get that ultimate, bring everyone in, kind of like a pseudo Rel ultimate. But then that would mean that they only have a single range champion on Panthers, and I think that would have really been detrimental. So while looking at it, Ari is not a very bad pick, right? Having at least some poke to try to counteract this three ranged, uh, three ranged plus a Rumble and Pantheon. That poke is like really oppressive. So if they did have 4 melee, I think it would have been really hard for Panthers to even get into the fight before their health was already halfway gone. But well, I think the Mel would have been a better pick. I think this Arya is fine, and I mean, Panthers really has drafted that bouncy castle, right? You have that Darius pool, which is a knockup technically. You have the Braum ultimate plus the Ornn ultimate plus the Ornn knockup, of course. So this really is going to be, can they create a bouncy castle against Interbots? Or will Interbots just do so much damage before the fight even begins where Panthers cannot engage at all? But with that, we're going to throw it to a break, and we'll be back when game starts.
All right.
I've been treading water for some time, picking up the parts of my life. Didn't get to solve it this time. How am I to break apart? Don't tell me why we can't collide. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn, follow you to carry I've been seeing farther in dark skies, bringing up the fire, not the time. Following my heart, thinking I'd show you how I play my part. Ghosts in the night don't justify the love we lost, the love we hide. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry
I feel the gravity pull and it keeps me awake. I would rather be here, lonely in space. I've made up my mind.
All right, everybody, here we go. On to Summoner's Rift, our first game of the day. Poison Panthers on the red side. And we've got the new Origin Interbots on the blue, trying to hold on to that second place spot. See if they can do it, launches.
Now, I do want to point out this is Rumble Jungle. This is Rumble in the jungle here, and this
That's
is
right.
Pantheon top lane.
You know, I was
So
actually going to point that out, launches, before we went to break, but now's as good a time as any.
yeah, that's
Sorry, go ahead.
it's gonna be a little it's gonna be a little interesting how this is gonna work, right? We just usually don't see the Rumble jungle as much anymore in any meta, that be solo queue or pro play or anything like that. Rumble really hasn't been in the jungle, right? As much as often, and it's also that Pantheon top lane. Right? We do see a lot more Pantheon mid lane here.
Oh, the Rumble in the jungle is going for a little bit of a flame spitter onto Clay right now. But Darius, famously at level 1, is
Gonna
pretty
flash out.
strong. And that is going to be the flash out indeed from Zelda Guy to get away from that very scary Darius. And something else that I feel like is worth mentioning, launches, is unfortunately our Rumble in the jungle is not using the Rumble in the jungle skin. So that seems like a bit of an oversight.
Yeah, now while the Cafe Cuties Rumble is a better skin overall, I do think that in this case, because Rumble in the Jungle would have just been better. I mean, it could just be
Exactly.
that they don't own Rumble in the Jungle. That's the most common, or that's
Well,
the biggest
obviously,
assumption here. But
should have bought it for this game. Clearly.
I know, I should have put it.
It's like he
I
doesn't
mean, I
even
don't
want to
know.
win.
Maybe you don't want to, put some money into the Riddle games
Yeah,
here. But
fair enough, fair enough.
yeah. Other than that, I mean, looking at this game state, nothing too much. Looks like both junglers are just going to be starting top lane. We did actually see Rumble start on Wolves because there's very little Rumble in the jungle games here. Don't really see what Rumble clears as much, but it looks like starts Wolves into Gromp into blue buff. So little different, pathing than usual, but because of that, looks like Rumble's going to be pretty far behind as well.
Well, I admit I've never really got too much into the Rumble in the jungle myself, but if I recall correctly, when he was meta, I believe one of his greatest strengths was the clear speed. So, obviously the idea for going to those smaller camps first is then they respawn sooner. That was very close for Chinese Spy in the mid lane. Almost able to land that charm. But you take the small camps first, they respawn sooner, and then you can then obviously clear them again and accelerate your economy in that way. But as we can see, the Rumble is, in fact, not as fast as the Darius. Clay just ripping through the jungle right now, already on his last camp, and is going to be the first one into that south side river.
Yeah, but the thing is, because of that ward in that tri-bush right there, they will be able to spot Clay if Clay does want to walk up here and go for a gank here. But there is no ward in that bot brush, and it looks like a gank here in mid
Here comes
lane.
the Darius into the mid lane. Zelda Guy, no flash, remember, from the level 1, and he's looking real dead on my screen, launches. No way out of this one. It's going to be the Darius who picks up the kill. So there is first blood for the junglers. Sivir trying to walk this one off as Alves trying to make a play of his own. That's going to be the flash away for the Braum support, barely staying alive. But no kills going over for the side of the Interbots. Just that one in the mid lane, as it's the side of the Panthers off to that slight early lead.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good play there. Of course, that mid lane, getting that first blood over the Darius, right? You really want the carriers to be doing a lot. And actually, it's going to be building the serrated Dirk first, right? Lethality, just because, again, there's not going to be much tankiness on the side of Interbots, right? So just going lethality, being able to one-tap. So it's going to be interesting to see if Sivir does also maybe go for that lethality Sivir build. It's a little less popular, right? Because, again, it really is the tank meta right now in League. But against this team comp, it might not feel that bad.
Yeah, we'll see. It could be interesting to see what Nike Dragon does decide to go for. I think it is likely, given the Sivir is short range, like we were talking about earlier, she might not have very many opportunities to just stand and hit in those fights later on. So I definitely could see the lethality being a viable option this game. But as far as the Darius is concerned, yeah, that is the build. You're fully indexing into movement speed as the Darius jungle. It not only does it allow you to clear faster, but it also shores up his main weakness, of course, of being kited. So it's Ghost Blade into Deadman's is pretty much always going to be your first 2 items on the Darius jungle. After that, you can be a little bit more flexible in what you want to go for. We'll see what Clay is going to offer. You're going to need some magic resist probably into the Victor Rumble at some point.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, I got to give props to Striker. Every time this camera looks bot lane, he's hitting another Ezreal Q onto Braum, onto the Sivir here. It's just doing so much damage. A lot of poke here, right? Like we said in the beginning, I think this poke game for Interbots is just really crazy. But, I mean, there has been some poke right back onto this Renata, right? We have been seeing, as soon as they say that, does miss the Q from Braum, but you can still see it's not that high of health right here. Ooh, Noxus. Oh my god, already used here.
Is going to go for Call of the Forge God. The flash away from Might of Noxus is going to get the Pantheon back underneath the turret to safety. Meanwhile, we do see a Dragon start for Clay and Chinese Spy, but the Rumble moving into the river. Let's see if Alves is going to have something to say about this. Looks like the Rumble wants to play towards this bottom lane instead. Nike Dragon shrunk down low. Spell Shield not quite coming up in time there to block that Mystic shot. So Sivir is in a bit of a dangerous position. But Clay already secured that first objective and has level 6 already on the Darius. Moving up now towards those grubs.
Yeah, I'm not going to... Actually, there had to be a ultimate up from the Pantheon just to get back in the lane, right? So we don't have a Pantheon ult now available. Now, I was going to say, it is... Usually, we do see that trade for drag and first set of grubs here, but it looks like they are going to get some more. And as soon as I say that, look at this.
Might have Noxus, no flash. Yeah, he's in trouble. And again, Clay has access to the Noxus Guillotine. Alves does not have the equalizer just yet. But numbers in the river for the Interbots. They rotated up their support. And that is going to allow them to secure these other 2 grubs. So good map movements, good commitment there from Rutenium. And it is going to allow at least a couple of these grubs to go over to New Origin. But still, at least that one grub did get secured by Clay first. So overall, you know, the side of the Panthers, I feel like are still feeling okay about that. For the Panthers launches, I do feel like it's going to be pretty important that they, in general, you know, are showing up to these objectives first. Or maybe it's more important. Do you think it's actually more important for the side of the Panthers or for the Interbots? It's weird, right? Because, like, the Panthers don't really have a great way of, like, checking, or a great way of engaging, rather. It's really just all on the Ornn. But for the side of the Interbots, they don't really have anybody who's going to be comfortable face-checking the bushes. So what are your thoughts there? Oh, we may have lost launches. Oh dear. We were just hearing, he was telling us about how there's a possibly an internet outage that he is going to be experiencing. Hopefully that is not a long-term thing, but seems like it might be just me for now, unless I'm the one who died. So you can hear me still, right? Oh. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm just going to keep casting, I guess. We're going to land a charm in the mid lane. And Zelda guy is going to have to burn that flash once again to get back underneath the turret. We see Clay is still even. Alves, you know, been able to keep up with the clear speed of the Darius. I wasn't really sure. It seemed like Clay was going to be a little bit faster at first, at least on that first clear. But the Rumble is keeping pace pretty nicely. I think this next dragon could potentially be a big inflection point. It's obviously getting up to 2 dragons. Would be absolutely fantastic for the side of the Panthers if they can make that one happen. They are up about 1,000 gold right now.
Sorry about that, crew. I have returned, and I am here with you, sir.
Yeah, I guess launches did unfortunately suffer that internet or electricity or both outage situation.
The state, what is it? The University of Texas power grid has gone poof.
Something like that. So, thankfully, you're here to step in. So, you know, I was just sort of pondering the possibility of the control around these objectives and how that's going to look moving later on into this game. You know, obviously the side of the Panthers. Oh, we got a little bit of a fight towards the top side. Freshberg going to call upon the Forge God once again. Finds the Brittle Auto onto Noxus. But the Ornn not quite enough damage to actually find the solo kill just yet.
Yeah, enough damage definitely to poke the Pantheon there out of lane. Possibly. A little scared for him to stick around here. No objective, but we do see that Darius there. Top side. So
You know.
it's gonna have to be a little careful. Doesn't have the TP up, or does have the TP up? Looks okay. Yeah, it is off cooldown. Hard to
Quite have
tell
the
from a moment.
flashback yet though, and also doesn't have any wards in the river. So yeah, Might of Noxus definitely does need to be a bit careful right now.
Is
We
making that
do
smart
also-
play.
Yeah. There he's gonna spot out Clay. We do have the Rumble going for possibly a lane gank, as Alves has spent quite a lot of time in this bush down here in the bottom lane, but is in the end, it looks like just gonna go, nope, still hanging out down here. Wow. A lot of time committed for the Rumble. Okay. Chosen his moment, is gonna get the Braum flash. There's the Equalizer's gonna come down as well. There's the on-on. The flash for the hostile takeover. The Glacial Fisher is buffered beautifully by Supporta to deny that play. A lot of time for the Rumble. They don't really end up getting anything for it.
I actually don't think they need to flash. There looked to be some communication issues. Striker was backing before the Rumble load even went out. So I don't know that that play was going to end up in a kill. But they respect it
Yeah.
anyways, commit the flashes. And both
course,
objectives
yeah.
up.
So the Victor Zelda guy just burned the flash again a little while ago. And that is going to be kill number 2 for Clay, who also was just able to get some counter jungling done. Stole away the enemy wolves, and now is on to that second round of grubs. So if he can secure all of those, that is going to be up to 4 grubs for the Panthers. They are trading it for the second dragon. So that is something back for the Interbots. But I feel like Clay's pretty happy to take this trade, obviously getting the kill as well.
Yeah, good
Great
trade of
about that.
objectives. Clay sitting really strong. 2-0 on that Darius. If you're on the side of Panthers, that's exactly where you want that gold to be. If you're on Interbots, that's exactly what you don't. You want that gold anywhere but this Darius at this point.
Yeah, it's really scary. It's so oppressive when the Darius gets ahead. I mean, we already know Darius top lane can be a bit of a menace, but then that can be somewhat mitigated in some situations by the fact that, as we all know, top lane is an island. So you can kind of get stuck up there sometimes. But when it's Darius jungle who's snowballing and he can affect the entire map, very, very scary.
So we did see this in Arbiter playoffs in winners finals. As they moved around, it was a Darius top lane, was basically kept in control most of the lane phase. Gets out of lane phase, and about 30 minutes in, it's suddenly a 20 kill Darius.
Ooh,
And
that's,
it's just a
lot of
problem.
kills. Yeah. He definitely can be a problem. We'll see how much of a problem he can be in this game, as that was a little bit of an attempt from Zelda Guy towards the bottom side. Just kind of threw out a laser. But they weren't really able to pressure Nike Dragon and Supporta too much. Braum and Sivir, this is kind of what you draft Braum Sivir for, right? They've just been playing defensively. Underneath the turret, they've been picking up these waves. Yeah, they've been eating a bunch of Mystic shots, but it hasn't resulted in any kills for strikers. So Nike and Supporta probably feeling totally fine about how this laning phase has gone. Chinese Spy going to commit the Spirit Rush here in the mid lane. Call the Forge God as well. Zelda Guy is about to get the flashback off. Cooldown. The Equalizer is going to come out to deter any further aggression, as the Grand Starfall from Nox is going to bring the Pantheon into the mid lane as well. But Chinese Spy's already out of there. And that's all 3 ultimates committed for the top side of Interbots. And again, they're not able to get anything for it.
Yeah, it really seems like they're panicking more than they need to at this point. It's not great. Yes, Darius has 2 kills, but you don't really need the force. Victor doesn't need to be looking for these roam plays. You're fine in CS. The Ahri doesn't have the kills. They just need to calm down a little bit. Play this, not exactly slower, but more controlled. You don't have that scaling to really back up, but you do need to let Victor and this Rumble come online. And not be forcing plays into Sivir Braum.
Oh, we have Storm back. Hi, Storm.
Hello, everybody.
Are you here to rescue Soul from his color casting responsibilities?
That is what I've been requested to come and do.
Excellent. Well, glad you could join me for this one, Storm. I guess you're waiting for Soul to pull up a Discord stream so you can see what's happening. I don't think you're actually in this lobby with us, are you?
You would be correct. Maybe Soul will be a cool dad. Oh, there we go.
There we go. So, not too much has transpired in this one just yet. As you can see, we've had some trading of neutral objectives. We do have a couple of early kills on this Darius jungle. but relatively even game still for now.
Yeah, I want to say the issue blue side has here is one, it's really hard for this Renata to get a ton of value in these fights, as Braum should just be WEing and bringing wall up to stop that hostile takeover from the Renata. But on top of that, not only do we see the Eclipse rush for this Pantheon in full armor stacking Ornn, but we're
Yeah.
seeing the tier get Manamune here instead of just trying to take
Hmm.
that cleaver to be able to cut through him in these side lanes.
Yeah, that is a bit concerning. I agree. What also is concerning is the fact that Rutenium is a little bit out of position here in the topside river. The collateral or the hostile takeover is going to come out, but the apprehend is there to bring the Renata back in. The bailout though, oh, and the resets come through. Absolutely massive collapse there from the entirety of the Interbots. They take down 3, and the Rift Herald will be their reward.
Yeah, Freshburger just getting too aggressive there, stepping too far forward. At the end of the day, going into Renata, she has both sums. She has that hostile takeover. She can buy a lot of time on teams that are just diving on her. And they just get every bit of rotation. The Pantheon TP saving the ult for his rotate bot side. That's a really big blunder.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly, I think for the side of the Panthers, they just weren't ready for that many members of the Interbots to be there, right? But absolutely, just overcommitting a little bit into the enemy jungle and onto the support, the Renata, who, like you said, is so proficient at buying that time for the rest of the team to join in. Definitely a bit of a blunder for the Panthers. Let's see if they can bounce back. Our first Hextech Dragon is alive on the Rift right now. But we do see multiple members of the Interbots moving towards this bot side river.
Yeah, if you're Interbots, I think you want to step up and just clear this vision and walk in if you can. The Ornn does have TP, but that earlier fight causing Call of Forge God to be down makes this really hard for them to take a straight up fight.
Here comes the TP from the Ornn, the On the Hunt from the Sivir popped as well. Darius is going to be able to secure the smite onto the Dragon. It's the Rumble who's going down quite low. He has the bailout. Is the reset going to come through? Not quite. It's Sivir who picks up the kill. And now might have knocked his forced a flash over the back wall of the Dragon Pit. And it's Chinese Spy. Finds the Spirit Rush Charm. Gets in there to try and finish off Zelda Guy. And the kill will come through. The last fight went the way of the Interbots. But this time, it's the Panthers who strike back. Oh, the Flash Charm. Oh, it's not going to land this time for the Spy.
Yeah, it's a lot of just this. These teams just keep over-committing. Last fight, it was PSN just hard shoving into Rutenium. This time, it's Interbots hard shoving without any like major cooldowns up. Rumble dies with the ult up. Rutenium doesn't have the hostile takeover back. And at the end of the day, without those cooldowns, you have no real way to stop this Darius from just free hitting a frontliner.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I felt like maybe the Interbots were a bit too rushed to try to get in there to contest the objective and didn't really set up the fight in the way that they needed to. You know, it's something that we talked a little bit about in our draft discussion, Launches and I, the fact that there's not really any front line at all on the side of the Interbots with this draft. So they really kind of need time, I feel like, at the start of these fights to use their range from the Victor and the Ezreal to kind of soften up these targets before fully committing. And that time around, they just didn't have the time.
Yeah, I think the side of PSN here, their comp is inherently just easier to play. You've got things like the Sivir that can just speed this Darius in, so he doesn't really have to rely on needing Ghost in this, so he can have that flash to try to outplay backlines in this game, as well as Chinese Spy being able to be super mobile on this Ahri pick into a pretty stationary team. I think we're going to start to see now just the difference in mobility in these comps is going to be hard.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we did see the side of the Panthers were able to secure feats just a little while ago as well. They were able to take that tier 1 turret in the mid lane to complement their 3 neutral objectives. And now Braum's going to be able to stand beside his AD carry. And Supporta and Nike Dragon have been doing a great job of just playing really defensively in these lanes. Just playing safe, not overextending, making sure they can pick up all this CS.
Oh, we see the Rumble throw him down, gets chunked out by the Sorry.
Oh, handshake gonna land for Rutenium. That's gonna force out the Spirit Rush.
Yeah, that's a really important cooldown to put down. Now it's a lot easier if Victor needs to take this base to lane into that Ahri, or even for this Rumble or Pantheon. This actually will allow Pantheon to have some kill pressure in this lane. just due to the fact Ari can't get away from his combo.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of a window there. You know, obviously Ari ultimate is not the longest of cooldowns. Definitely a bit of a window there for the Pantheon as Clay looking for a play onto Zelda guy right now. A lot of damage coming out from this Victor, and in fact, Clay's gonna have to beat a hasty retreat, and that's because the cavalry is here, called the Forge God for the knockup. Zelda guy without flash does not have a chance, but a really nice trade coming out here from the Interbots. They're going to be able to take the tier 1 in mid lane, and with the assistance of the Rift Guard, they're looking for the tier 2 now as well. Chinese Spy chunked down low, the Equalizer over the top, and Ari gonna get taken down by the Mystic Shot Striker, finding the shutdown. The tier 2, it looks like, will almost fall, and it will go down as well. Clay not able to defend it. Those are really heavy commitment.
We're seeing a lot of struggles here. Things like this Victor really having issues being able to side lane with this many threats available, but also PSN just not keeping track of the other carries into the macro or the things that they have available. At that point, if you're committing for topside, you have to keep in mind that that Rift Herald is a threat that can get popped from the other team. So I think both these teams just need to lock in and start like really paying attention to what's going on. At this point, this is starting to look a lot like solo queue.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, when there's a Darius jungle in the game, I feel like he just kind of has that effect, right? But definitely it did feel, you know, in that last sequence, like both sides kind of made some overcommitments, right? Still, I think it is the Interbots who came away with the better end of it. You know, being able to get both of those mid turrets just opens up so much space on the map. And it was only the one turret that the side of the Panthers were able to get that top tier 1 alongside the kill onto the Victor.
100%.
Yeah. This is going to be Hextech Soul for the side of the Panthers if they can get it. How important, Storm, do you think it is that the Interbots get in there to contest this dragon?
It's going to be insanely important. The last thing you want to do is give a major team fighting AD carry like Sivir just a free static proc as well as all that passive attack speed. Because not only you have to think what Sivir's building in this game with the Yuntal into that IE, the only thing she is lacking right now in her build is attack speed, even still sitting on this tier 1 boots. So she's really relying on that W, but we see the TP come in just to try to really secure this.
Might of Noxus has TP as well, but he's not using it. The side of the Interbots, they're making the call to sack the dragon. And they're going to play for this Otacon, it looks like, instead. But the dragon is already down, and the Panthers could easily rotate up here to contest. Yeah, Charm is going to land onto the Rumble. He flashes away to try to create the space. The call of the Forge guy connects onto 2. The Equalizer, though, is fantastic from Alves to prevent the follow-up from coming through. A lot of ultimates committed there.
Yeah, that's a very big oversight. I get you don't have the positioning, so you don't feel like you can really play to do anything on that drag, but Otacon, especially being the lifesteal variant here, takes so long to actually do that there's just no way you burn this down before drag. And now we see their immediately jumps on the objective.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Interbots probably should have an idea that this is happening. You know, now we see the teleport come through from Zelda guy to try to get here, but I don't think they're going to be in time. Supporta blocks the true shot. Barrage, Rutenium gets in there, flashes in for the hostile takeover, but can they get a smite in to contest? They can't do so. The Otacon is going to go over to the Panthers. They do have to burn their flash on their Darius, but a small price to pay.
Yeah, if you're... I don't think this angle looks very good. I get they're chunked, but there's no way you're chasing into this team right now.
They have Otacon buff. Like, even if you kill them, they're not really dead. I don't think there's anything Interbots can find here. They just have to play now. I think the Otacon buff is not going to last until the next dragon, right?
Correct. I think if you're Interbots here, your big thing you need to focus on is playing skirmishes around this Victor. Not because Victor can carry it, but you need assists and you need kill participation to start going into Victor to start unlocking.
Forge God, Alves in trouble. Gonna get pulled in by the Apprehend. Rumble doesn't have flash. He doesn't have a prayer. Taken down. Kill number 3 for Nike Dragon.
And this is just we're overstaying when we're in areas where we don't have control. Dying in the enemy team's jungle and your entire blue side's up is.
Oh no, Storm.
Oh.
The jungler just died when Baron spawned. Are they going to go for it?
I definitely think they have the option. Your issue here is Interbots being heavy on bot side right now, and
They're going for
Clay
it.
getting that red buff.
I mean, I think if you trade that bot tier 2 for Baron, you're pretty happy with that as the Panthers, I would say.
I would agree. They
We
might
do
even be
have,
able to try to play into 3 if they can force this Ari off. They do not do this that fast.
Let's see. The charm's not going to land. The wave comes in. Yeah, they are going to look for the tier 3. The Baron is going to go down. I don't think the resets are actually going to be in time to save this tier 3. Oh, it's barely alive still. And
Ari
now
able
the
to use that
Baron
wave.
will persist until the Dragon, so that should mean map control for the Panthers. They can transition that into a Hextech, so they are in a great position now.
Yeah, drag coming up here in next 45 seconds. This is kind of do or die. The issue is this Otacon buff is still up.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very hard for Interbots. Not only do they have to swing this fight, they have to swing it quick.
It's
because
about to
you've only
fall
got
off.
15 seconds before this Ari.
The Otacon buff is about to fall off. So, you know, that is something. See, it's fallen off just now. So now the Interbots can go for an honest fight, but oh dear, Alb's caught out here off on the side. The Braum passive is getting stacked up. The Rumble is going to get executed. The bailout's not going to save him. And now Rutenium trying to get away. Mighty Noxus leaps in there, takes down the enemy support, and now trying to use the Aegis Assault to back away the Flash. Will give him the space that he needs, and now it's Freshburger getting burned down on this front line. The Victor damage is real. The flash in for Zelda Guy. He secures the kill onto the enemy top laner, but the health bars are so low. Chinese Spy has to flash to get away from the Death Ray, and the Sivir damage is going to take down Zelda Guy. It ends up being a very chaotic fight. A 2-for-2 as Might of Noxus. So
Trying to play dangerous with that Renata W. Getting tagged by that Sivir. If the other half would have hit, I think he dies. But right now, even PSN kind of played that fight almost a little too close to the chest.
yeah. I mean, they were playing in those really tight chokes in the jungle, right? Really allowed the Victor and the Rumble and even the Ezreal as well to find a lot of value with their skill shots. But even so, it still ended up being an even 2-for-2 trade, and it still should be the Panthers with control as the Dragon is about to spawn.
Yeah, if you're Interbots here, you have to get your target acquisition together. Rumble and Victor need to be on these same targets, layering the equalizer with that Victor W, and Ezreal's got to try to hit a miracle ult, try to chunk out these backliners on top of it, start forcing kills. The Sivir 5-0 with a 500 gold shutdown. If they can start trading back some of these backline carries, these fights should become a little bit more winnable. But if you're just going to keep trading one for
Might
one
of
with...
Noxus is just going to jump in there with the shield fall, but now the Pantheon's going to have a tough time getting out. The side of the Poison Panthers just set up the battle lines beautifully. The shutdown already going over onto the enemy top lane. And look at Freshburger just flashing in there, taking some heads. The charm's going to land onto Alves. That's going to be the 4-for-0 team fight, and that should be game number 1 for the Poison Panthers.
Yeah, we're starting to see this is a lot of this team's downfall early on and later into the season has been dealing with a lot of these hypermobile comps. Things like this Ari have done great into the Interbots before. I think this is going back into draft for this game too. You've got to mix things up, either maybe pick away this Ari for yourself, or see if Ezreal might be able to wave clear this out, but I think Orange just body blocks the wave.
It's going to be the Poison Panthers. They take down the Nexus turrets. They take down the Ezreal one more time. Clay on the Darius jungle. Flavor of the month, and it's tasting real good. Now the Poison Panthers 1 Nexus away from equalizing at 5 wins.
Yeah, that's a crazy game 1 if I've ever seen it. Obviously, Interbots being the hometown team over in New Origin, a lot of old faces coming back for that roster. So I've had a little bit of insight in talking with them, and they were not worried about this matchup from what I had heard. They were expecting to 2-0, so I think opening up this game 1 is a little bit of a punch in the mouth for them.
Yeah, they're definitely not hoping for the 2-0 anymore. It definitely does feel like the side of the Interbots. It's really interesting hearing that, Storms. I kind of see that reflected in the draft as well, right? It's an objectively cocky draft. They went with no front line. It really felt like they were all in on winning their lanes. And when that didn't really happen, and Clay is outpacing the Rumble in the jungle, they didn't really have a response for the side of the Interbots.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these comps, you're playing things like Pantheon, Renata. Honestly, there's not a ton of champions in this game that really care about Renata to begin with, other than the Sivir. So I feel like Interbots just needs to go into this draft, maybe play for some more aggressive counter picks. Because like once you see the Darius, you have to know it's not going top lane. It
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah,
by
they picked it so
far
early too.
statistically the most disgusting jungler in the game right now. You would just
Yeah.
have to plan on it being in jungle and deal with the fact that you need to pick a more blindable top laner than Pantheon. Because if you're going to take Pantheon in this game, you have to know it's just getting tank maxed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right, Storm. We'll see what kind of adaptations the side of the Interbots decide to go for that second game, which I assume you're sticking around for, right?
I believe so as of right now.
Okay, that sounds good. But are we? Oh, I guess we don't usually go into breaks before our game 2 drafts, right? Okay, I guess we will go into a break this time, but before we do, I wanted to get a game 1 POG vote from you, Storm. You know, for the side of the Panthers, who are you looking towards with this one?
Game one, I almost wonder if you got to give it to Nike a little bit here. Being 5-0, being the stablest member for PSN, always playing those weak side fights, making the rotations when they needed it. I think she was a vital member of this team, as well as she is the newest addition to this roster. This is the first time they've played with her, and I think that's a good showing to show why they promoted.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we are going to be getting straight into that Game 2 champion select in just a moment, guys, so no break is going to be necessary. But I like the Nike Dragon vote. She definitely did have a great game. You know, the positioning was really solid in the fight, did by far the most damage in the game, and had a really solid early game as well. You know, it's something else that we kind of discussed a little bit, the fact that, you know, it can be difficult into the Ezreal, right? He obviously outranges you quite significantly as the Sivir, but Nike Dragon and Supporta down there really just played such a solid, such a safe laning phase. They never really overextended. They never put themselves in dangerous positions. They were just able to very comfortably scale up. They got Nike Dragon to those 3 items, and from there, I mean, the team fights looked quite simple for them.
Yeah, if I'm Interbots, if we don't feel comfortable playing Darius jungle, I say you nuke it. You don't let it be played. I think it's just one of those egregious champions that for at least the next patch or two, Riot's gonna refuse to remove because they're going to pull the trigger of love. Oh, people just don't know how to play against it yet. In reality, Darius probably shouldn't be the fastest clearing jungler in the game, but 200 years of game knowledge, you know,
Who
they'll
are we to
figure it out.
question? Surely, surely. All right, what was that one more time, so? Okay. So the Interbots are going to select blue side. Do they also have side selection for game number 1, or how does that work? Are they assigned sides for game number 1? Okay. So it was assigned sides for game number 1, but the Interbots, as the losers of game number 1, did have the option. They're electing to stay on the blue side. So Storm, you were saying we need to ban Darius, right? That's the number 1 thing we're looking for the bots.
It, if I'm Interbots here, either I'm banning Darius or I'm picking a very ranged comp that is really good at zone control. Things like the Anivia, Morgana, our roster's shown numerous times. Things that do not allow this Darius to play melee to where he has to walk through damage to get combos off. If you're
Yeah.
willing to keep leaving it up. But if you're going to keep trying to play these weird bruiser type junglers, I think it just needs removed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe the Interbots were kind of trying to go for the zone control strategy with the game 1 draft. You have the Renata, obviously. You know, you have like the Victor as zone control with the gravity well. You know, Rumble with the equalizer. He can. It's kind of zone control in a manner of speaking, right? But it just didn't really. It wasn't enough. You know, it wasn't the hard CC that you really need. When Darius is running at you at like Mach 10 or whatever, the slow from Victor's gravity well is just it's not quite enough. So
You are not
Let's
wrong, and
see.
we are getting into this draft for the second game. NOI sticking with the Udyr Syndra ban on blue side, and PSN immediately following with the Belveth Karma on red side.
So the other bans in game number 1, it was Jinx that was banned away by the Interbots, and it was Aphelios that was banned away by the Panthers. So we'll see if that remains the same. This would obviously be where the Darius ban would have to come through if it is going to happen, and there it is.
My
Happy Storm.
my prayers have been answered. Please stop letting this champion exist.
So now the Jinx ban looks like is going to actually be picked up by the Panthers, which means the Aphelios is left open. Is Aphelios a B1 champion? Then is the next logical question.
I think Aphelios is a little bit of a striker champ.
Okay.
I personally don't think it's that strong to the fact that it needs B1 just due to the fact it needs a lot of things to go right for it. But if you're NOI, I think striker played very safe and very disciplined in that game, even from a losing state, that it wouldn't be bad, but also something like this Varus that not only brings damage with that passive and the rest of his kit is enough of a hyper carry to fit that same mold while also giving him some agency to start these fights with that ult.
Yeah, absolutely. You also, of course, do have the flexibility when you go for the Varus of having a couple of different builds, obviously, that you can go towards. Seeing the Sivir could potentially be the option for Nike once again. As already mentioned, she was had a great game on in game number 1, or game 1 POG, in fact. So don't mind seeing that one get locked in once again. Although it does, again, outranged by Varus this time instead of Ezreal, but still.
Yeah, I think Sivir right now is one of those 80 carries that one just gets to build that double AD build into the IE and Yuntal and is kind of just chill maxing until 3 items if they feel like it. But it's also just such a good pick if you feel like you're maybe a little bit fighting up, as it's
Hmm.
just this champion. If you feel like you're losing, you can just nuke waves in people's faces and just say, hey, go make a play somewhere else because it ain't happening here.
Very true. Very true. And that is exactly what Nike was able to do last game. Just kind of denied the Interbots from being able to make a play, right? Or if they were going to make a play, it would have to be a turret dive. And the Sivir was playing alongside a Braum. So that was obviously not going to work out. But she's playing alongside a Trundle this time. Probably not in the support position, but still, there's a Trundle here that is probably going to enjoy getting sped up by the Sivir ultimate. So there's a little bit of synergy happening already there. The Lulu coming out for the Interbots almost assuredly locks in the Varus for that on-hit build, right?
Yes. I'm gonna be real. I think lethality Varus is kind of cheeks. So
Fair
I
enough.
think picking a Lulu is definitely the best case here. Followed by the Jarvan, I think is a very good pick for something like this Trundle. Obviously, Trundle is a very good duelist at every point in the game, but his biggest issue is just being kited. And just giving yourself the Lulu Jarvan combo of Jarvan can just throw Cataclysm on his head and then EQ out to never let him really play the game in these later stages unless he has Flash is a very good thing to put on your side here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Jarvan is actually something that launchers and I were really hoping to see the Interbots actually pull out in the previous draft. We thought it would have been great alongside the Victor and the Rumble, but of course the Rumble ended up being what was played in the jungle position, and that was we all know what happened in the previous game. So having the Jarvan come through now, I quite like to see it for the Interbots, but the Panthers are going to go for the Braum once again, which again worked out for them quite well.
Yeah, knowing my boy Porta, he is a little bit of a Braum merchant,
Mm,
but I mean in these games, I think picking Braum into Lulu is pretty criminal, but
yeah,
it is really good at shutting down these Jarvan engages and really punishing Jarvan for ever starting fights, as he
true.
can just get locked up by that Braum, and Braum's just not a champion that is really going to get bursted. So I think it's a really good follow up. It gives them a lot of good skirmish with the Trundle as well, being able to fastly stack that passive, play with pillar slows, and I think it really just shows how they want to fight against NOI, as NOI's definitely played well in these straight up 5v5s, but kind of get a little lost in the sauce on the smaller skirmishes.
Interesting. Yeah, a little bit of Freljord synergy there between the Trundle and the Braum, which is very, very cool. And as we can see, the Interbots recognizing that as well, banning away the Lissandra to try to mitigate that Freljord synergy as much as possible. Well, that's not a Freljord champion. That's weird.
They're not Team Fight Tactics Season 1 players around here.
Oh, I
The
forgot
Ash
which game we were
being up,
playing. My bad.
the Anivia was up. There was a lot of Freljord options here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Going for the Ari instead. Obviously that is something that we did see the Panthers play in the previous game. So they want to force Chinese Spy onto something else this time around. For the Panthers, obviously they banned away the mother-daughter duo in the Mel and the Ambessa. And now they have the option of taking away the Victor. So they're saying, oh, you don't want our mid laner to play the same champion again? Well, how about yours doesn't play the same champion again either?
True, and PSN is just setting up a really strong 5v5 comp. Again, the Sivir Victor, both two champions that are very happy just stand next to each other and just free hit on the front target and let the rest of their damage bounce. I think unless you're going to pick some really odd picks like this Vel'Koz, I
Speaking
think
of.
you're going to put yourself in quite a hole. But this Vel'Koz being able to follow up on Verisalt and being able to ult over this Jarvan engage also could be a really strong pick in this game if NOI can play with the gold lead in the early stages.
I can see it. I can see it. I like the Vel'Koz angle here. And now I think we need maybe just a little bit more front line. The Gragas could be the option. That's seems pretty good. He's a relatively safe blind pick, right? And you can do a great job of controlling the fights with all of the CC that you do have in the kit. But now, of course, the Panthers are going to have the opportunity to go for a counter pick here. What do they want into the Gragas?
I think giving yourself, you can kind of go anything here. I think maybe like a Cassante would go very well. I think it's a
Okay.
pretty easy lane to play, or something like a Mordekaiser, just to be able to rip one of
Mm.
these engaged targets like the Jarvan into the Death Realm and just let these teams fist fight 4v4 could be another really strong option.
It does feel pretty strong. Yeah, I think I quite like the Mordekaiser here as well. For the side of the Interbots, their composition feels like a very combo-oriented comp, right? Where you're going in with the Jarvan, right? You're putting some people in the Cataclysm, and then you have a Vel'Koz and a Varus that are just firing the lasers at whoever's trapped in there. But if one of those pieces is missing because they're trapped in a death realm, then that could put a big damper on what the Interbots are going to be trying to set up in these fights.
Yeah, you're 100% right. This NOI comp really relies on all the wheels being on the car and Mordekaiser being able to be one of those champs that just removes the steering wheel can
Not the
definitely
steering
throw a
wheel.
wrench.
That's the most important wheel, Storm. Oh
I
my
know.
goodness. Well, how do we feel about the, obviously, the side of the Panthers are feeling pretty confident in that lane matchup as well. But what are your thoughts on Mordekaiser Gragas specifically?
I think Mordekaiser is one of the few bruisers that Gragas really has a hard time dealing with, as Mordekaiser can buffer a lot of his damage against that body slam. But as much as this Mordekaiser pick is not really a lane counter, this really just feels like he's playing to just de-enable this Jarvan combo from setting up the rest of his team.
Makes sense. Yeah. We'll see how that goes up there. It definitely was a pretty aggressive. It's not like we had a ton of kills in the early game in game number one, but definitely, a lot of these players were trading very aggressively in the lanes. So we'll see if that continues, or if maybe they are going to calm down a little bit and play a little bit more towards those team fights. We'll have to wait and see. But the other really big question that I have, Storm, that I'm hoping you can help me out with here is, when Jarvan is locked in, and I understand that this is not the reason that Jarvan is being picked in this specific situation, but when Jarvan is locked in, I'm always thinking about how one of his greatest strengths, one of his most unique strengths, is the early ganking power, right? The fact that he can set up so many plays just from level 2 with the EQ combo. And it feels like if the Jarvan is not able to find any early pressure, there are other champions that you could have picked that are tankier, right? That have maybe more CC that you could have gone for instead. So I always really like to see Jarvan go for something in the early game. If Jarvan is going to do so in this game, Storm, What do you think he might be looking to accomplish?
If you're Jarvan in this game, I feel like you have to path to try to cover this mid pick. Victor is a very immobile champion into something like the Victor. Even if you don't kill him on your gank, burning that Victor flash is super important for this lane because if you can burn it, it really sets up Vel'Koz to actually play for some of these kills as long
Yeah,
as Victor isn't able to flash out of Disintegration Ray. The only
absolutely.
other option early game he really has is trying to play to get kills into this Mordekaiser, but it is very hard depending if Burger is able to hold that Mordekaiser W well and throughout the lane, or if he's using it to just kind of catch some of the poke from this Gragas.
Hmm. Very interesting. Yeah, Mordekaiser are one of those champions, kind of similar to Darius, right? Where if you can gank him before level 6 and set him behind, that can be incredibly impactful, but it's always risky, right? Because Mordekaiser is one of those champions where if you gank him and the gank doesn't work out, and God forbid the Mordekaiser gets a kill or even 2 kills, then the lane is feeling a bit doomed for whoever is laning against the Mordekaiser in that situation. So I definitely agree that I feel like mid lane would make the most sense in terms of what the Jarvan is going to possibly look to set up, at least in the early game. But looking at the other side, the Trundle is another early game jungler that can really do well in those early skirmishes. So maybe I should pose the same question to you, but for the Panthers side, what do you think the Trundle's going to be looking for in the early minutes?
If you're Panthers, I think you have to be looking at this bot lane. You need to get this Lulu behind so that Braum can kind of freely play his lane. Braum is going to get really hard abused by this Lulu Varus in the early stages of the game, just because the Sivir's not going to have that much to fight back to keep Lulu off of him. Um, so that definitely is the weaker part of the map. So if you're this Trundle, if you are not just perma clearing, I think you need to path in because that pillar alone can set up a lot for this Braum to just play for passive and start forcing flashes off of these normally immobile carries, which then can just lead to kills at 6 once you have Braum ult online.
Yeah, absolutely. Varus, Lulu should in isolation do really well, as you already mentioned, into the Sivir Braum lane. But if Trundle can make an impact down there, like you also mentioned, Varus and Lulu, not the most mobility that they do have available. So a well-placed pillar could make a massive difference, actually, in that lane. I think we'll have to look out for. But overall, Storm, how are you feeling about these two drafts? Sister Squad, the Interbots, how are we feeling about what they've put together this time around? Which way are you leaning in terms of
I
the draft?
After game 1, I think this game is a lot easier for PSN to win than it is for NOI, but I
Hmm.
know NOI is kind of pulling some weird picks out that are much more their kind of pocket picks. I know Zelda guy's got a little bit of a Vel'Koz side piece on him that he plays a lot, but we haven't seen much this season. So this
Hmm.
may be just NOI going back to pure comfort and saying, hey, let's play with a little bit more of a lead in these lanes. And we just think we're a better 5v5 team fighting comp than them, and we just don't want to get wallet checked. So I
All
think
right.
NOI, as long as they can get their combos off, have really good fighting, but PSN looks super comfortable on this Sivir and Mage core that they just played their last game on.
Well, Storm's still holding on to faith for now. Zelda guy on the Comfort Void Squid. Seeing if he can have a little bit of a more impactful performance this time around. But again, another pretty strong team fighting composition that the Panthers have put together. They are now looking for the 2-0. It would be absolutely massive for them in terms of the potential playoff seeding that is going to happen based on the results of this match. It's very, very exciting, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game 2. All right, everybody, welcome back onto the Rift. We've got game number 2 here. The Panthers going for a little bit of a level 1 look-see on the Rutenium. The Braum passive gets stacked up so quickly there, and the poor little Lulu, she's already flashed, trying to get away. The heal burn there as well. Rutenium is going to be able to escape just barely underneath the tier 2. It was a good attempt, though, from the Panthers, as now they're looking a little bit more. Alp's going to be able to back away, though.
Yeah, Trundle burning that flash, but getting both sums out of this Lulu definitely gives him a place to path in this early game. I don't know what Rotinium is doing. Little sleep at the keyboard because you watched them walk in. Jarvan definitely clipped them on vision there. So I don't know why we're still standing, but hey, he
Yeah.
left dubs.
Yeah, definitely not the ideal start for the side of the Interbots, and the fact that Rutenium's down those summoners now means that you're probably not going to be able to play out this 2v2 as aggressively as you would normally like to, right, as the Varus Lulu?
Yeah, he's got to be really careful to not get tagged by this Braum Q. If he gets tagged by Braum Q, there's a world Braum can just flash forward and start autoing you. Same with
Oh.
Sivir.
He got tagged by a Braum Q. Rutenium was really unafraid there, just absolutely did not care, was still walking up. I feel like Nike Dragon was really focused on last hitting those minions and didn't really realize that the Lulu was kind of exposing herself a bit. Totally fine.
Yeah, everywhere is just trying to fist fight. Mid lane getting a little poke, top lane get poking. Everyone here is just trading. You would have thought we're in the stock market.
Is there a stock market here in the LXC? I know some leagues do something along those lines. They buy
Not that
stocks
I
and players
am
and stuff.
aware of, but it would be a fun concept. Maybe we rework the LXC draft league into a stock league.
Could be fun. Something to think about. Not something we need to be overly concerned about for this game, at least. Because we did just see Striker get in quite a nice deep ward there. So not something that ADCs usually go for, is finding those deep wards. But he's going to be able to spot out Clay as the Trundle does move onto his blue buff in just a moment.
Yeah, plus side to this Varus is you have a lot of early lane control, just having that innate threat with the W in the E, being able to poke out most AD carries. The other thing to keep track of here is Supporta is playing with that Ignite in this game. An odd choice given the fact a lot of Lulu is going to be shielding, so you're not going to be able to cut a whole lot of healing in this game other than summoner spells. But we see Clay just getting kind of stared at here on this blue buff.
Yeah, Alves, of course, has the vision. Is going to go in now with the EQ, but Clay, I think, able to back away from that one. I didn't see if the Trundle actually got knocked up, but still, he's getting pushed off of his blue buff. Now the bot lane is rotating over as Sporta. That's going to be another EQ forward for Alves. They're looking to burst down this Trundle, but the skirmishing power is so high, and Alves just EQ'd into his own demise.
Yeah, just not keeping track of these cooldowns of how long it takes Lulu to get that shield back up. I don't know if he just thought he was going to be able to burst the Trundle out, but the Braum shield comes up, being able to cut out a lot of Striker's damage, and there's just not enough follow-up.
Yeah. Interesting to see the lethal tempo on the Trundle. Actually, more of the scaling option with the rune, with all the damage that came out there. I thought it was probably going to be the press the attack Trundle, but not actually the case. Still, you know, it was just the fact that Nike Dragon and Supporta were there to really punish that over-aggressive move from Alves.
Yeah, Trundle actually is one of those bruisers that kind of thrives on fighting other bruisers. That chomp
Yeah.
on the Q, being able to rip away a lot of base AD from most champions level 1, makes it a very strong skirmishing tool into other skirmishers.
Absolutely. Now we'll
So I
see
don't
if
know
Alves is going to
if
be able to... Oh, go ahead, Storm.
I don't know if this Jarvan's ever really going to find a point in this game he can really skirmish with this Jarvan. If I'm on the side of NOI here, I'm really trying to play for this vision game so that Jarvan can make plays opposite of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really think, you know, probably the reason why we picked Jarvan in this game, it is for the Cataclysm, right? For you can have that set up in the team fights. So that's really the main thing that I'm going to be looking out for Alves, to see if that setup is going to be there, if he's going to be able to consistently find those relatively immobile carries, right, in the Victor and the Sivir. If he can get them in the Cataclysm for the fights, then it should work out okay for the bots. But Alves did just get counter-jungled a bit as Clay was able to get in there, steal away the Gromp. Well, the Jarvan onto the Dragon. He's going to feel okay about that trade. Does come through.
Yeah, Jarvan should be playing around this bot side right now. Varus will be stronger than the Sivir, regardless of the state of the game, for quite a bit. And we see the Varus trading really hard into Nike. Lethal Tempest.
Yeah, well, this is to the death, it looks like. As why are we looking at top lane? Oh, a Sivir, actually, Nike Dragon was able to walk that one off. It didn't actually even have to burn the summoners, so I guess the spectator camera knew better than us, huh, Storm?
True. Obviously, both AD carries holding on to both those subs, scared of what these junglers can bring. Just decide to not try to limit test too hard. But we'll see this Varus,
Look at this
51
wave.
CS to the 35.
Oh.
And dropping this wave is very painful for Sivir. But it
That
is
is a
what it
cannon.
is.
Is Dragon gonna get back for the cannon minion? No, the cannon is down. -1 in the chat.
-1, it's true. But even all across this map, you see Striker, the only person actually being able to put a lot of pressure. Top side down 22 farm, mid lane down 20. If this game state stays this way, it's going to get harder, as it's going to really limit the options. Oh, and we see the flash
forward for
Porta.
Supporta. Yeah, Striker did have the flash back, or is going to try to flash away rather, as Boomerang Blade gets him down solo. One more auto for the Dragon. Can't quite find it. So close there to taking down the Varus. He will just barely survive. That was around 10 or 12 HP or something.
Yeah, Striker definitely min-maxing that barrier and trying to bait them into stepping forward towards the turret.
Yeah,
It
for
knew
real.
a little better.
Well, we did see the first round of grubs was secured by Clay while that bot lane kerfuffle was happening. So the early neutrals did get traded off.
Yeah, and we see this Trundle opting into that Phage first buy. Personally, I think something like that Tiamat to try to match this Jarvan's clear would have helped a lot here, but we'll see if he's going to go into that Stride Breaker, or maybe if he's going to try to force Cleaver. But with that dagger, I would assume it to be Stride Breaker.
Could be Trinity Force as well, if he's really feeling spicy.
That's true.
There's lethal tempo, right? So you're gonna benefit from every little bit of attack speed that you do decide to purchase.
This Trundle will be bonking. I can repeat, will be bonking.
Many bonks.
If you're elves here, though, we really need to see something from this get some value out of this Jarvan. Don't be wrong, the Cataclysm will bring innate value because of Trundle in the later stages of this game. But we need to start trying to set this Vel'Koz behind, as we see Trundle contesting this Crab, and Jarvan is on the way.
Yeah, let's see. It could be the makings of a fight here. The Crab is going to go over to Clay, as the bot wave is relatively neutral at the moment. Looks like the side of the Panthers are going to feel comfortable to back away from that one. They secured the Crab. They don't need anything else at the moment.
Yeah, and if you're PSN here, you're kind of just relaxing. This bot lane, again, just absorbing so much pressure, so much jungle hover. And the solo laners are just consistently just out farming and out trading in their individual lanes. And as long as they can just keep this pressure, I think they're kind of just
Death
relaxing.
Realm committed towards the top side. Freshberry looking for the 1v1. There's the flash away from Might of Noctis. Still trapped in the ultimate, though. As we got to play towards the bottom side that we're taking a look at here for now, as Clay's looking to chase down this Varus, who doesn't have flash, and that is going to be the kill going over. Supporter doing a great job there, standing in front, making sure that Striker couldn't get that return damage out onto Nike Dragon. And that's just a clean gank from the Trundle and a clean kill for the Panthers. They're up 2-0.
Yep, and Lulu doing her support diligence, holding this wave, might get jumped again. Support of the Cuban whiffs. The ult
the
comes
Glacial
out.
Fisher committed there. Clay has the pillar as well to slow down Rutenium. The concussive blows getting stacked up. The boomerang blade over the wall. Not quite enough. Rutenium able to flash away back underneath the tier 1. Will barely survive. Couple of really close calls here for the Interbots bot duo. They've gotten away multiple times now with these blinking health bars.
And we sadly missed the 2v1 topside from Freshburger, able to flip that Jarvan and Kragus on their head. This game is just slowly losing grasp for NOI.
That's just Mordekaiser things, right? You're gonna gank Mordekaiser. You best not miss with that initial engage. You got to at least get him down really low, or he is going to turn those around every. Or actually, I guess the Death Realm was on cooldown, so
Yeah,
he didn't
just
even
did
have
that
the
straight
ultimate for
up.
that 1v2. That was just, oh man.
Yeah, if you're NOI, I think Jarvan's gonna hit a point where he probably has to unironically go more of a damage build, because no one on this team's really going to want to optimize into shield break for this Mordekaiser. So this might be component mid-maxing Jarvan this game, as we see Freshburger just picks up another solo kill.
Wow. Yeah, we kind of missed part of the setup for that one, but this Mordekaiser is really off to the races. I mean, already has the Rylai's done. So he just hit those first couple of spells on Noxus, and the Gragas just not able to get away. We saw that Dragon going over now as well, so the Panthers are going to be able to equalize the Dragon count at 1 apiece, and now they're going to be able to move up here and contest the second round of Grubs as well. Alves, maybe even in trouble, tries to use a Blast Cone to link up with the mid laner, but the pillar is very beautifully placed, and Alves going to get taken down for the third time this game. 6-0 now on the scoreboard. Nike Dragon trying to get away from this one. Obviously, he doesn't have his support. As Supporta roamed up towards the top side to contest those Grubs, but the move speed for the Sivir, almost that turret shot is actually almost took down Rutenium. The heal forced out there from the Lulu, as that was almost another 1v2 for the Panthers. Oh, Supporta flashes, finds the Winters, but Rutenium gonna get ignited and taken down. Supporta saying, oh, you're gonna try and take down my AD carry? Not on my watch. He's gonna find the lockdown here on a Striker as well. Nike Dragon steps up. It's gonna be the flash forward for Striker. Desperately trying. A couple more autos would do it. He's not gonna find him. Supporta picks up the double kill.
Yeah, it's just he wants to try to trade, knows that he probably can't flash out. So even if he flashes out, there's still the risk of getting tagged. But we see Alves trying to get that trade now.
That's another. They're trickling. They're trickling. Storm Alves gonna get stunned up once again here. The gonna dunk the Sivir in the end. They finally take down Nike Dragon. First kill of the game for the bots.
But we see this Trundle is able to just run into Jarvan's topside and take everything again. Gragas now getting proxy farmed off this wave. He just knows Freshberg can stand here, and there's no jungler you can call to come save you. But he is able to sneak past.
Yeah. Speaking of junglers,
Jumped.
Clay finding another one there. Zelda guy just not realizing, I guess, that that's not his jungle anymore.
Yeah, I mean, when your top side's at 0-6, maybe we don't walk into blue side jungle with no vision. We need to just kind of play around with our strengths.
You knew Trundle was up there, right? Because he just secured the Void Grubs. You didn't know that he was in your jungle necessarily, but you can't just be walking in blind like that as a Vel'Koz who doesn't have Flash. It's just not a good idea, and we saw exactly why.
Yeah, this game is already kind of hitting the levels of quite difficult for the side of NOI. You don't have a ton of scaling outside of your Vel'Koz and Varus here. Jarvan needs to be playing with lead. Gragas is already kind of committing into this half damage, half tank build, which is going to be this Mordekaiser's bread and butter to fight him. So we need to be making some big wombos like that are trying to set up at least. Maybe get some kills into this Vel'Koz and start swinging some fights.
Trying to set something up here. Clay is going to face check 3 members of the Interbots, and he is going to get taken down. The shutdown does go over to the Lulu, though, so that is a little bit unfortunate for the side of New Origin. But hey, at least they were able to get that kill onto the Trundle. It's the first step to getting back into this one.
Yeah, if you're New Origins, that feels good. You're able to at least get one play, maybe get yourself some momentum. It is a little sad that it goes onto your Lulu. Obviously, Vel'Koz would have loved to take that. But it does show that members on this team are not invulnerable, that they can die and they will overstep. And it also helps secure that you do have the damage to look for some of these fights still, even though you're at such a gold lead, already down 4K at 15 minutes. I think we need to really start playing around. We see that Cask goes a little wide on Freshburger there.
I mean, it hit the Mordekaiser. The problem was that the Mordekaiser didn't have turret aggro. So he got displaced, but he didn't really care too much about it. He does also have the Death Realm, so I don't think he'd necessarily care about getting ganked at this point in time either. And also, he's level 13, which is 2 levels higher than anybody on the side of the Interbots. And now Zelda Guy, unfortunately, again, in the enemy jungle, is going to get flashed on and chomped. And that is going to be kill number 5 for the Fresh Burger.
Yeah, again, blue side is not your place to be. We
At
need
least he,
to really leave this Mordekaiser alone.
Yeah. He just wants to build his, what's the deal with Mordekaiser again? Alves flashing away into the Raptor Pit is barely going to survive. The Victor damage, as the tier 1 in mid, is going to drop. I was trying to go a direction there with, like, the Mordekaiser lore, where he like, just wants to be left alone and, like, build his kingdom. You know what I'm talking about? But I don't really know where I was going with that. As Nike Dragon is trying to go away from this tower right now, because it's about to die. And it looks like Nike Dragon will successfully go away from the tower.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a bright side here. Oh, we see Rutinium helping get that engage on Chinese Spy.
Okay. Yeah, the Chain of Corruption did land there from Striker. They're going to get some good damage down onto the Victor. The turret will drop. And now in goes the Jarvan. Oh, finds the Cataclysm onto Chinese Spy, who's getting out so much return damage, but not quite enough in the end to get the kill back. Now teleport in for the Mordekaiser. Again, level 13. Ridiculously strong. Are the Interbots going to be able to get him? Oh, the Q Flash. Obliterate, a very appropriately named ability right there. So now the Death's Grasp, also pretty appropriately named, as Death will grasp elves once again. And this is going to be the first Ocean Dragon for the side of the Panthers.
Yeah, Varus flashing forward to try to secure that kill onto Chinese Spy, trying to get himself somewhat accelerated. Zelda Guy also looking for the steal with that Death Ray over top the full combo, but Clay is able to get that smite off.
Yeah. It was a good try from Zelda Guy. Rhyme unintentional. But yeah, good smite from Clay. It did end up securing that one. You know, at least for the side of the Interbots, you know, they're probably glad that it's an Ocean Soul and not like a Hextech Soul or something like that. So that would probably be even more dangerous. But still, I mean, the Ocean Soul it's a relatively tanky composition for the side of the Panthers, right? So if they do manage to secure that Ocean Soul, it's not like it's a bad, you know, they definitely would get a good amount of value from it.
Yeah, oh, we see Rutinium getting jumped by Supporta again. Some good old Supportal combat.
Yeah. So the Braum does have 4 kills this game, so this really is a support carry kind of game, it seems.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Nike Dragon's getting Lulu combated on right now.
Seriously, that's what I'm saying. There's a Rutenium's trying to get the damage out. So needed the Chain of Corruption to land there for Striker for the setup. So the Varus could support his carry Lulu. Didn't come through that time.
Yeah, if you're on the side of Interbots here, you need to start trying to look for fights around this Varus ult, preferably as far away from this Mordekaiser as you can. Which means we need to start looking at some kind of engage on Chinese Spy, see if we can get that flash back on cooldown so this Jarvan Cataclysm can look for some value in these dives. Even maybe if you can catch Nike Dragon with that spell shield, but we see the engage now on the Trundle.
And there's On the Hunt gonna get popped. The CC does come through. They burst down the Trundle, but now Fresh Burger is here. He's got Alice trapped in the Death Realm. That's gonna be kill number 8 for the Mordekaiser, as both of the junglers will drop.
Yeah, this Mordekaiser just making great rotations, being able to tag people with that Rylai's, especially the Sivir. This is a big thing I've been talking about, especially when trying to help with the New Origins Plat team. Sivir, that On the Hunt, makes a lot of these harder to play bruisers that really have issues being kind of turn into Thanos a little bit, because you're ailing their one counterpoint is just being kited in that Sivir On the Hunt, just giving that extra move speed to let these bruisers just sprint.
Yeah, I feel like the Panthers have been playing really well as a team so far tonight. You know, it's particularly being able to use the team fight power of that Sivir ultimate, right? It feels like they're really on the same page for when and how they want to go for these engagements, consistently playing around their carries, and it's working out quite well for them, as we can see.
Yeah, I think this is a really good look for PSN. PSN's kind of had a couple bad series that definitely could have went their way. They just misplayed a game or two. I think this is a really good resurgence for Chinese Spy stepping up, as well as Freshburger in this game. 8-0-0. He's not only taking the fights, he's taking every kill in them because he knows where that gold gets its value at. And I think
Yeah,
they are really
absolutely.
looking to push this kind of tempo into playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I feel like the Panthers have kind of been ramping up over the course of the season, right? I feel like, you know, they did lose out last week. It was a 1-2 loss that they had against Syndicate last week. As we are getting a teleport in for Freshburger. Otacon is alive. We're not going to be looking to force anything around that just yet. Rutenium does have to be careful, though. Getting pulled in by the E. Has to self-cast the Wild Growth to try to get out of that one. Looks like we'll be able to do so. But yeah, for the side of the Interbots, you know, their 2-0 that they got last week was actually because Contingent Yellow is obviously no longer in the league, so they didn't actually play. I wonder if part of this is just like the Interbots a little bit rusty.
See the Vel'Koz
Yeah.
opening up.
Oh yeah,
Almost
looking
able
for
to
the solo kill on
completely
the Chinese
one-shot
Spy.
the Vel'Koz.
Yeah, almost there. Chinese Spy able to flash away, barely survives, like you say.
Yeah, and that's a really important flash to come down right now. Jarvan can look for those engages, as well as the Varus with that ult to try to get picks on this backline. And that may give them the angle to try to flip some of these fights coming up on these objectives.
Well, this is a big fight that we've got coming up here, Storms. Second Ocean Dragon would be sole point for the side of Panthers if they can get it. Playing for mid control right now. So on the hunt, gonna get popped by Nike Dragon. In comes Chinese Spy. Are they gonna be able to punish? Oh, it's a beautiful Cataclysm. He gets both of the carries trapped in the Cataclysm. The Gragas cask is amazing as well. And that's Sivir and Victor both in the dirt with a real carry. Freshburger looking to try to turn this fight around for the Panthers. Rutenium self-cast from the Wild Growth again as the Lulu tries to get away. A flash forward for Clay will eventually be able to take down the enemy support. Still a 2-for-1 fight in favor of the Interbots, but can they get anything afterwards?
Yeah, I think if you're PSN here, you just go and you look at this drag right now. At the end of the day, Alves is still up, so they do have to worry about a smite steal, but the Mordekaiser is already there. Can just rip Jarvan into that death realm if he tries going for that steal.
Absolutely, yeah. The fact that Freshburger didn't use the Death Realm in that earlier engagement means that this is really hard for the Interbots to try to contest. Kind of Noxus just gonna have to back away. And this will be sole point going over.
Yeah, that Mordekaiser just able to reclaim mid-control. There's knowing that Jarvan's not only really late on his rotate, but he does walk into that top side. Just kind of Interbots are just giving everything away. It's a fire sale. There needs to be some kind of contest at some point. I don't know if they're maybe waiting for the second item from the Vel'Koz that they want. That's when they want to look. But at some point, you have to stop giving them everything.
Yeah. Speaking of giving things, we've got an Otacon start happening now. Al's going to drop down the flag just for that little bit of vision. 5 men strong are the Panthers as they look to take down this objective. Freshburger obviously still holding on to the Death Realm, so as long as he can prevent Alves from jumping in at the right time, this should be the objective. Is the EQ to get in there, and he steals it! It's a massive steal for Alves. Freshburger not able to time the ult quickly enough. How does the fight outside of the Death Realm look? Alves is almost certainly going to die here to Freshburger, as the Trundle is also going to drop. Chinese Spy, though, without the flash, can get taken down by the Vel'Koz. The Mordekaiser level 16. Now he's going down so low. It's a massive shutdown over to Striker, but the Varus then will immediately fall as well. It's only Nike Dragon and Supporta left as they look to back away. A one-team fight and the stolen Otacon for New Origin.
Yeah, and Zelda guy trying to stop some of these bases here. They could possibly look for this dive. Nike is really low, but if... Ooh, and Zelda gets the snipe.
There's that Vel'Koz mastery that you were talking about coming through. Now looking for another one. Even Supporta doesn't have.
On the block.
Absolutely,
wide.
yeah. But the Braum just has nobody around to help him. The Gragas tanking up the turret beautifully. Although support is still alive. And again, the Gragas has turret aggro the last shot. Oh, it's not going to come through. Barely Nox is going to be able to get away. And it could have been cleaner, but overall, a successful dive coming through there for the bots.
And that's a lot of kills traded back on the side of Interbots. They've got to be somewhat happy with that. Varus getting to that third item now. Vel'Koz sitting on a lot of gold at 1,500 is going to be finishing his second 2 off this recall. The carries are starting to get to a lot of their core damage items here, and they can actually start to look and take back control in some of these fights.
That's crazy. That's actually a 3,000 gold lead for the Varus over the Sivir. I didn't really realize. I mean, it's a huge CS differential actually for Striker as well. Absolutely massively ahead in CS. So yeah, this Varus is really, really strong. Can they continue to play around him is the question. He has those 3 items done, like you say, so as long as the Varus can hit, the fight is going to look pretty good for the Interbots, but oh, I don't think they know about the Bear, and they're going to get the Scryer's Orb down now, but look at where Alves is. The Jarvan, I don't know if he's going to get here in time. The teleport in now for the Mordekaiser as well to hold the Banana Brush. Should be able to prevent the Jarvan from getting into the river. The Baron does get secured. Tier 1 in mid, the only thing that Interbots are able to trade for.
Yeah, then they're going to be put on notice if Interbots don't get a really good team fight again. If they just get wiped, that could be game with this Baron buff being up and available. Trundle is very good at ripping down structures with that Triforce. But if you see Freshburger maybe caught out here.
Yeah, they're going to look to make the play onto the Mordekaiser. He does go for the Death Realm. He's got Jarvan in there once again. Is Alves going to be able to survive for long enough? Oh, look at that damage from the Mordekaiser. Oh, and the EQ doesn't quite come through, but he was able to survive! The Jarvan survives for long enough, and the Mordekaiser comes out of the Death Realm to find a big old Disintegration Ray straight to the face. That's going to be another kill over to the Interbots.
Yeah, Freshburger just pushing way too far forward without the other lanes getting pressure yet. A little bit of a blunder there. Did save the flash in that engage, but Jarvan just skating those initial abilities from the Mordekaiser, really delaying how fast that passive is going to get up and start burning. Then just being able to EQ, dodge another Q, get a knock up, gives him enough time to live for that Lulu ult to come out and save him at the end of it. That is a really big throw for that Mordekaiser, who's really trying to get to that Zonia's on his next completion and try to take over these fights.
Yeah, he is quite close. Only 100 gold away, I believe, is Freshburger from that Zonia's completion. He does already have the arm guard, though, which is unbroken. So the most important aspect of the Zonia's, right, is that stasis active. So he does have that available for this next team fight, for the potential Ocean Soul. Chinese Spy, also with the Seekers. Level 16 on the Victor. River control for the Panthers. They look to start this one off. Might have Noxus on the flank position, though. Gragas could be looking for the carries once again here. Remember the game plan for the Interbots. It's about the combo.
If you're PSN here, we need to save the either pillar or Mord needs to play on flank. Just give us something here to stop this Vel'Koz ult.
Oh, actually, we've committed the Death Realm onto the Lulu. So Alves is also getting zoned out right now by Supporta. Is going to be forced to EQ back over the wall. Freshburger does take that first kill onto the Lulu, and the Jarvan is going to be next. Might have Noctis was not able to make an impact. He wanted to try to find a flank angle, but they just fought away from the Gragas, and they were incredibly successful at doing so. The Panthers find 3 for nothing in the team fight, and they will secure the Ocean Soul.
Oh, and Porto with the flash onto the Vel'Koz. They might look to
Lickers
end this game.
Yeah, they certainly could. They've got, well, their Baron buff is falling off, so they're not going to have that, and Vel'Koz and Varus should have a decent amount of wave clear. This tier 3 and mid, though, at the very least, is going to fall. Respawn starting to come through. I don't think that the Panthers can end the game here. They will back away for now.
Yeah, and we see Baron is still down for another 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Honestly, I think maybe taking this mid inhib may have been a bit of a blunder for the side of PSN. You're just giving this Varus and Vel'Koz another free lane to farm with supers, giving an extra 90 gold on every wave. But the worst part about this is now they've given themselves a lane they can't farm. So now we're going to see Nike probably fall even farther behind in gold to this Varus, as well as it's really hard for Chinese Spy to be able to get to that third item or upgrade those boots, as they're now really just limited to 2 lanes they can play on, whereas this Varus and Vel'Koz are happy catching these mid waves. But we see the Trundle gets engaged on.
Ooh.
Holy, he is
Yeah,
gone.
that's a lot of damage. Yeah, Zelda guy able to find the death laser. And now Alv's looking for the catch on a Chinese Spy. The Victor already used the flash, but the Jarvan, I guess, a little bit overextended there ahead of the rest of the team. Just going to get burst down by that level 16 Victor. Teleport in now for Freshburger. Moving on to the Death Realm for now. Not quite going to be able to trap anybody in there. It is a 4v4 on the map at the moment as both junglers find themselves in the Death Chamber once again.
Yeah, and we just keep seeing a little bit of missteps here. That Trundle with the Triforce Bork is a crazy duelist. But sadly, you are not dueling getting caught and smacked by 4 ranged champs you can't hit.
Yeah, has the Swifty boots as well, so it's like no resistances for Clay and like barely any bonus health. So he is extremely squishy. Nice cask from Noxus, but Chinese Spy able to duck away from the body slam, and now it's a lot of return damage onto Noxus. Did get stunned up by the gravity well for a moment there.
Rutinium getting chunked out. This Baron is live in 48 seconds. If people are going to reset, they need to get him in now before they have to contest. There is a world, though, that PSN just pressures them on these waves and lets the Trundle +1 just maybe sit and duo this objective. It's very possible Trundle just eats through it.
Absolutely, yeah. Just Trundle and Sivir could absolutely 2-man it, no problem. See what they're going to go for. They're going to secure the tier 2 top for now. It's Alves EQing forward, but not quite able to get in range to find that engage. Might have Noxus now potentially in trouble. Gets stunned up by the Braum passive, and the Gragas now is the one who's a little bit overextended. Is going to get taken down. It's Supporta, the carry Braum, securing another last hit. And yes, as you say, Clay already pushing down the mid lane with the help of the super minions. Nobody from the side of the Interbots is going back to defend right now. Oh, but Clay is going to back away. Now life from disintegration rate comes out from the Vel'Koz, blinking health bars on Chinese Spy. He's barely able to get away, as now Alves goes in with the Cataclysm. Freshburger goes into the stasis, though. By a little bit of time, drops that turret aggro. Still a lot of damage onto the Mordekaiser, and they shut him down. A couple of overextensions back-to-back for both sides, as now Nike Dragon getting flashed on is going to get absolutely obliterated by the Varus. Supporta now, and Clay forced to back off and teleport back in for Chinese Spy. Are they going to look to continue the fight here?
Yeah, looking at that fight, I think Nike forgot what Summoner Spell was what, because that flash really looked like it was supposed to be Barrier. That's a little bit of a blunder. I think if they played that fight slower and Nike was able to kite that out, there's a world that with Chinese Spy getting that TP off, that they could have maybe kited out and either flipped that fight around once Spy arrived. But instead, Nike just getting caught there kind of gives Interbots an angle to be able to contest and take Baron. This Varus is reload hitting right now.
Oh, absolutely. He is doing a whole bunch of damage. Can absolutely shred this thing for the side of the Interbots as well. They've got it down to about 50% already, as Clay does have a Blast Cone. We've seen one jungler steal an objective already this game. Is he going to do it? He gets into the pit. Oh, it's a beautiful deny there from Noxus. Body slams the Trundle out of the Blast Cone, out of the sky. Prevents the Trundle from going for that steal. Nicely done by Noxus.
Yeah, and Sivir there popping the On the Hunt, trying to rotate her Mordekaiser over there. Sadly, they're just too far away. Spy also is just on numerous fights now. Jarvan has found the right angles to be able to just EQ and then get the Cataclysm off. Vel'Koz being able to max range play with that ult to just over the top it to guarantee these kills. Interbots starting to show why this comp can be as strong as it is. PSN, though, just needs to regroup, play around this Mordekaiser Death Realm, and just play for the 4v5 once Ford can trade out while he's in it.
Yeah, it feels like for the side of the Panthers, at some point they got really impatient, and they started like trying to overforce these plays. And the side of the Interbots were really successfully able to punish them. You know, all these mispositioned members are consistently getting caught out.
Yeah, it's the tales of shutdowns the league's now put in the game.
League
Though,
of shutdowns.
yeah. But even now, Interbots fought back, only down 6 kills, but only down a little under 1,000 gold now.
Yeah, we ended up with quite a close game here. You know, there is still the Ocean Soul, of course, for the side of the Panthers. So the extended fight's going to be good for them. But overall, these fights, I feel like, have been relatively quick. I mean, there's a lot of burst damage at this point in the game. Everybody's getting close to full builds. Elder been started up now by the Interbots, and the side of the Panthers, they're not going to contest it at all. They're just going to look to try to rush down mid lane. They're going to get the inhibitor, but the Elder just died so quickly. I think the resets are going to come through from the Interbots, and yeah, the side of the Panthers, they realize that they can't fight into the Elder Dragons, so wow, weird. This game could end up being a real long one, Storm.
You're not wrong. I think if you're gonna play on base here, maybe you keep Supporta at the pit and just have him play to stop these recalls, and maybe you look for your end that way. But now, Interbots playing with Baron, playing with Elder. Sure, they are choosing to push into the super wave, which honestly isn't a huge deal to them. Varus eats these minions alive, and they could look for the end if they want to pressure with these waves.
They've got Baron only for about 20 more seconds. And not too much of a wave to work with right now. They are going to take down that mid inhibitor. So both of the mid inhibitors are down at this point. Perhaps the Interbots are going to be a bit more successful than the Panthers were at pressuring some of these other lanes.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to keep track of is right now, PSN does have a ward in Interbot's base. There is a world that they could try to do a backdoor rush once the waves start bouncing. But right now, I think they're just looking to try to eat, maybe catch on Rutinium. Victor Alt comes out.
Yeah, I mean, the Chaos Storm this late in the game does such an insane amount of damage. Rutenium will survive, will be able to back away. That is going to trigger actually the full retreat for the side of the Interbots. Probably good to all recall as a team. It does mean that they're wasting the last little bit of their Elder buff, but probably realistically weren't going to be able to get too much more anyways.
Yeah, and if you're PSN now, this game is out of, I don't want to say it's out of your hands. Gold's close. A lot of these champs are hitting
It's
full
anyone's
build.
game. Yeah.
So this is just going to turn into, can Jarvan find the engage on this backline to set up Zelda guys' Vel'Koz ults? Or will Burger be able to rip out a crucial member and trade them in Death Realm and then just come out and be the monster his KD shows that he is?
Could have another fight breaking out right here as On the Hunt has been popped. Good flash from Clay to get out of that Cataclysm. It's Fresh Burger on the front lines once again, but is in fact getting burned down right now in the Death Realm. He's going to come out and likely going to drop. The Mordekaiser is surviving for a while. Eventually, Zelda guy is going to take him down. Goes godlike, but might have Noxus as a little bit overextended as he was chasing down multiple members of the Panthers, but there was nobody ready to follow up on the Gragas. So another 1-for-1, and the teams now just staring each other down here in the mid lane.
Yeah, Freshburger just not keeping track of how tanky this Varus is with this build. The Adaptive Helm, the on-hit pen item, Wit's End. This Varus has a lot of MR. And as Mordekaiser outside of your built-in pen and that Death Grasp, you do not have a great way of chunking through it. Even with Death Realm stat steal, it is a flat amount no matter the rank. So it is going to be hard to really pop that Varus in your ult.
Yeah, we are well and truly into the late game. And full build on hit Varus definitely outscales full build Mordekaiser. And Freshburger did just learn that one the hard way. Siege towards this top tier 2. Yeah, they're going to be able to burst down the Lulu. It's a massive Vel'Koz ultimate once again as Supporta is barely going to limp away from that attempt. As a couple of those Panther members thinking they could find the angle, but they were flanking onto the entire team of the Interbot. Supporta's not going to be able to get away here. They do take down the Braum as well, and now it's going to be 5v3 on the map for the Interbots. Like 30, 40 seconds on those death timers. They're going to be able to secure another Baron. And that's going to set them up beautifully. If they need it, the Elder is back in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, this is obviously just going to be a free give over to the side of NOI. Their gold lead now up almost 5K. Obviously, almost every member finishing up their last items outside of the top side. Looks like Vel'Koz is still waiting on like 1.5. Top lane is being sadly stuck on control ward duty. If you're PSN now, what is your options? I feel like you either need to try to find some catch, overload a bush maybe, play around these lapses in vision on the side of NOI to maybe catch this Vel'Koz, as he's now 8-2 with a 700 gold shutdown. He's worth a lot of money if you can find it. Freshburger gets caught by the cask.
Oh, yeah, the Mordekaiser's going to be forced to use the Death Realm quite early here. It does have the Vel'Koz trapped in there, trying to take down Zelda Guy. The passive is going to get the job done. That's a maxed out shutdown, in fact, for Freshburger. And now Clay is in the Cataclysm, but who's trapped in there with who? As that's going to be the Varus gets taken down by Chinese Spy, and now it's only Noxus and Rutanium left as the Gragas with the Blasco tries to get over the wall, and the healing is barely going to keep Noxus alive. There's still a couple of members on the chase, though. Are they going to be able to find the Gragas?
They're just able to maybe play on this mid wave. They could look for the end. Sadly, no super wave, so Gragas can just full commit his combo to kill wave. This could be an end here, but it is close.
Try. Yeah, they really don't have much of a wave at all for the side of the Panthers. The first Nexus turret, though, is going to go down. There's still 15 seconds on Zelda Guy. It's only Might of Noxus and Rutenium that have to hold here as the next minion wave comes in. But they do have the Baron buff to help out, to give them that little bit more time. It's 5 seconds now on the Vel'Koz, but the last Nexus turret has fallen. They're into the Nexus, and it's going to be the Poison Panthers. A couple more auto attacks will do it, and they will secure the 2-0 victory over New Origin and equalize at 5 wins.
Yeah, that's finally Freshburger kind of just running that early in mid game on the Mordekaiser. Had a bit of a lapse in that mid game of just getting caught and just not finding good targets, not getting those death realms on killable members of NOI, and then finally in that last fight just uses that they full commit onto him and is able to rip that Vel'Koz into the death realm and things like that protobelt. You think you're spacing a thing until it just randomly gets a dash, and he is able to trade out a very important member of that comp. And then we just see what happens when Striker with this half tank Varus build, it deals a lot of damage, but it's a lot of single target, and there's a lot of things to chew through in that game. Sadly, he also gets stuck in that Cataclysm to end it, and we see now PSN. This is a really strong win for them going into playoffs.
Yeah, yeah. I do think that the second game was probably a little bit closer than it should have been. You know, there was at one point earlier on where the Panthers had Ocean Soul and Baron. They were sieging the base, and they kind of allowed themselves to get picked off a few times. That almost brought Interbots, well, it absolutely did bring Interbots back into the game, almost allowed them to actually completely turn that one around. But in the end, it was just a good old-fashioned 5v5 in the mid lane that the Panthers were finally able to win, and that allowed them to take the victory.
Yeah, for this game, Noxus, sadly, this Greg is just not able to find as many casks as he wanted. That last Jarvan Cataclysm, Striker just stepping a bit too far forward, not thinking about his own spacing on the target, getting caught just on the edge of it, ends up being a really bad clip. But Freshburger on that Mordekaiser just really showing what he can do into this top lane pool in the LXC Crusader League this split. Clay constantly finding pillars on this Lulu and the Varus, flashing forward to confirm these Braum stuns with his passive. This is really good team call fighting from the side of PSN, and I think that's something that's going to be a really good asset to them leading into this postseason.
Yeah, I thought the Panthers, the fights were played very well, particularly in the earlier stages of the game. That really allowed them to get that huge lead initially, right? I thought that, yeah, like Freshburger obviously had an insane performance, got so many kills, so many solo kills up there in the top lane, even had that 1v2 without the ultimate. That happened as well, right? So The Mordekaiser was massive. Clay definitely had a great early game. Chinese Spy, maybe it was a little bit muted early on, but in the end did absolutely insane amounts of damage on the Victor. Who would be your POG for this one, Storm, if we were going to award another one for the Panthers? What are you thinking?
I've got to give it to Freshberger. He ran that
Yeah.
entire top side of the map early game, getting the 2v1 without Death Realm available in that early skirmish was just huge, making him nuclear in the earlier part of the game. But then even with the little snafus in the mid game, being able to find that final pick on that Vel'Koz in that final fight was a huge momentum swing for the side of PSN in that later last team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it did end up being a bit of an unfortunate cask from Noxus that brought the Mordekaiser in range of the Vel'Koz, but still, I think we got to give some credit to Freshberger there for because he didn't have he had very little time to react, right?
Yeah,
Like you're cast into the team and you immediately have to cast that ultimate or you're just going to get one shot. And he chose the right target in that instant, and that's what allowed the Panthers to come out on top.
it's definitely hard, especially in that heat of the moment thing. You've got three carries standing on top of each other, and you better pray you clicked the right one.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw what happened when he clicked on the Varus a little bit earlier on, right? Because Freshberger would not have won that 1v1. So
No.
definitely good looks there. Any other thoughts, Storm? Any other closing remarks? Anything else you wanted to add before we close out the stream for today?
Just thanks for everyone for tuning in. Obviously, had to kind of pop in. Launches kind of got IRL diffed a little bit, but always glad to help
Unfortunate, yeah.
out when I can. And thank you all for watching.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. Yes. So before we close things out, and take a quick look at the standings here now that everything is all said and done. Although I do think there is one match left to play. Yeah, Clown and Elysium actually have their match. Their Week 8 battle is going to be taking place actually 6 days from now, it looks like. It's going to be next Tuesday, immediately before the playoffs do start. With this result, with the Panthers taking the win, as I mentioned with the closing call there, they are now tied with the Interbots at 5 wins. So that battle between Clown and Syndicate is going to be incredibly consequential. If Clown end up losing to Syndicate, then we will have 3 teams. Oh, sorry, what was that? Did I say the wrong? Oh, it's Clown is playing against Elysium, not Syndicate. I misspoke there. My apologies. But yes, so Clown, if they end up losing to Elysium in their Week 8 matchup, then we will have 3 teams tied over there in Sector 1 at 5 wins, and we will have to play those tiebreaker matches in order to determine the seeding. Although, if Clown Gaming do manage to win against Elysium, then they would get up to 6 wins. They would then lock themselves into second place, and the Poison Panthers, obviously having the head-to-head over Interbots, would find themselves in third. With the Interbots, with quite the fall from grace there, would go from second place all the way down to fourth and would lose out on that first round bye in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's a huge, huge way to drop from being able to contest for possibly second seed to being locked down to minimum third or
Yeah.
fourth could be quite a detriment. That means you lose a bye week. You've now got to play on probably an opposite side of the bracket as well. This actually can shake up a lot of this postseason for not only Interbots, but for almost every team in Crusader.
Yeah, absolutely. Sector 1 really getting shaken up quite a bit with this result. Storm, do you have any thoughts about that matchup between Clown Gaming and Elysium? Do you have any thoughts about that one or prediction for us maybe?
So, so with that matchup coming up, obviously Elysium is the team to beat in Sector 2. So obviously this Clown roster is going to have to show up with their best if they plan on taking that team down. But this will also be the first top team this Clown Gaming's new roster is going to play. And so I think it'll be a really good test to see if these new late season additions are have what it takes to contest in the top end of Crusader.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a reminder as well, guys. The fact that not only are you not getting that bye if you are in the fourth or fifth place spot in the standings, moving into the playoffs, but that first round match, the play-in stage, is only a best of 3. So not only are you forced into playing that additional match, it's only a best of 3, not a best of 5. So really quite a lot of pressure for those fourth and fifth place teams. A very little margin for error for them as they do look towards that postseason. So just to further highlight the significance of the what the Interbots lost out on by not being able to pick up the win tonight.
That is true, especially with Elysium now at 6-1. From what I understand, I believe Syndicate dropped their match into Goon Squad today, which then brings Goon Squad up to 6-3,
Oh,
maybe.
well, it would be 5-3. Yeah, 6-3
So,
would be 9 matches, which is too many. But I get it. Still,
so
numbers are hard.
if Elysium gets this win into Clown, they will actually now jump ahead of Syndicate and lock in their first seed as well, because they need to not tie Syndicate. Otherwise, they go into their tiebreak, and Syndicate is the team that has given Elysium their one loss.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot on the line there for both teams. And it's starting to feel like, wait, so are we guaranteed? No. We're not guaranteed a tiebreaker, because even if Elysium end up losing, then
Yes, Syndicate will
it
have
would
to
still
have
only be
that.
a two-way tie. Exactly right. Yes. So very, very interesting. Definitely. I think it's so cool that we're here all the way at the end of the regular season, and there's still so much to be determined in terms of what the playoffs are actually going to look like. So just goes to show that every single game matters, right? You can't be taking any of these games lightly, and it could be the difference of just such tiny things can have such big ripple effects, right? You just
Yeah.
think like one team fight and one game goes a little bit differently, and you get that one extra win, and that puts you in this. So you miss the first round, and it's so crazy to think about.
Yeah, I think this is not how a lot of people expected Crusaders last couple weeks to go. I think the last couple weeks we expected the top teams to be the top teams, but we're seeing a lot of teams faltering, a lot of teams starting to pick up the pace, and we're seeing some really late roster shuffles, some standing shuffles coming out here. But with that, I want to say we've not only locked all of our playoff spots, but we're heading into a pretty dramatic postseason.
Absolutely, I love me some drama storm, and I'm sure we'll have no shortage of things to talk about for the Top Hat Lounge this upcoming weekend. So that's something else to look forward to. But I think we've covered all of our bases now, Mr. Soul. Is there anything else that we need to touch on here? Okay, that should be good. Of course, of course. Anything else from you, Storm? Any more? Any closing thoughts?
No, not really. Just good looks to PSN tonight. Support of the boy. Get getting the win. Um, props to them.
Absolutely. Definitely the better team tonight were the Panthers, able to pick up the 2-0. Extra special thanks to you, Storm, for stepping in on your day off. Very happy to have you here for this one. But from myself, from everybody here at the LXC, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, we do have the Warden League, Week 8 of Warden. Going to be tomorrow night. They're closing out their regular season, of course, as well. From us here, that's going to do it for Crusader. We'll see you in the playoffs. Thanks again for watching. Have a great night.